that much consideration play against Qiutu to begin with.
Well, I mean, he does want to get out of this group, and I'm pretty sure they can't change their decks later. So it's not just about Qiutu; it's also being able to beat MieGod and Breath later on. Qiutu has a bounty of 50 yuan. That is by far the lowest I have ever seen. Wow. Okay,
I don't
so
think we're getting anywhere lower than that.
oh my goodness, I don't think you could get in this tournament with any lower. I mean, maybe you give him like a 5 yuan bounty, but basically that's, I mean, as you can hear from Xing's comments so far, and his extremely low bounty. Qiutu is not very highly esteemed amongst, at least for as far as pro players are concerned. He is a streamer. He was recommended by Panda.tv, so that's why he is here. 33 years old, as you can see there. But a lot of these players, they have to, have qualifications here or there. I mean, for instance, Breath, he's a very good player, but he had to be nominated by his team Celestial. There's a lot of players like that. There's some players who got in by actually winning tournaments. That's the case for Langweixian, who was able to win the Gold Series Chongqing. He also just incidentally was in the NA versus CN championships, so that's where you may have seen him prior to this. But let's see, the Warrior of Langweixian was banned by Qiutu, and Qiutu's Shaman was banned by Langweixian. Definitely makes sense. I mean, Shaman, you could just get overrun by Shaman and lose a game that you felt like you deserved, so definitely makes sense for Langweixian to go ahead and do this. But, I mean, talking about Qiutu, he had a very low bounty, obviously, but Langweixian, this is the first time a #1 seed, basically, they seed the players in these groups, so he's the 1 seed versus the 4 seed, and he's the 1 seed because he won a Gold Series earlier, and so that's why he's a 1 seed, but for every single 1 seed so far has at least had a 10,000 yuan bounty, and Langweixian has only 7,000. That kind of shows maybe a bit of weakness here. I'm just gonna be completely honest. These two players aren't really held in complete high esteem, and even in our opinion as well. Basically, the lower half of the bracket, MieGod and Breath, are where the very experienced players are. So, what do you think about that 7,000 bounty?
Well, I think that's a bit unfair because I think his team is relatively unknown and that might hurt him.
Right,
And
right.
actually, he's rumored to be joining a lot of teams. The more adept of the translation would be Lonely God. Maybe Newbie is where he belongs. But we will have Zhu versus Zhu as the first match.
Right. So yeah, that could be definitely the case. You do bring up a good point there that maybe it's not his fault that he doesn't have a higher bounty. I mean, he has proven himself by winning a Gold Series. So maybe if he just gets more opportunities by getting into a more established team, that might help him out. So anyway, Dark Peddler actually being coined out first here. Looks like Qiutu is relying a lot of more aggressive decks today. He obviously had his Shaman banned out. This is going to be a Zoo lock. And also Druid can be aggressive, and I imagine it's going to be Secret Paladin for Qiutu. So going the aggressive route, obviously, feeling like he might be a disadvantage here, so that definitely makes sense for him to go that way.
Yes, definitely. And actually, we see both players bringing Sea Giant in their Zulu decks, which is actually a card that we don't see that often anymore after we see Void Color become really popular. How do you think about that, DT?
Yeah, it does make the deck a bit more clunky at points. Sometimes you can't really get that Sea Giant out, and if you're playing Void Caller and you're playing bigger minions, it's sometimes you're not able to really utilize the Sea Giant. But it looks like the board is pretty flooded here. If ever Sea Giant's going to have a decent chance of getting out, it's probably this matchup because both sides are wanting to fill out the board. Lots of death rattles, lots of sticky minions as well. So we'll see how that comes into play later. As far as right now for Qiutu, he actually has had a pretty good curve, had a pretty fortunate knife juggle the last turn, but I mean for Langweixian, he doesn't really have the greatest board. However, he has a lot of stickiness, so there is that going for him. So looks like oh wait, okay, so there was a bit of an interesting interaction there. Qiutu is now able to play his mountain, or excuse me, his Sea Giant, but he might opt for the Defender of Argus and said sometimes you see BGHs in this matchup, but yeah, I was thinking like he was hesitating there for a second. It is kind of strong, and maybe he feels like he can get the Sea Giant out next turn.
Yeah, I mean, he should have. He maybe needs to kill the Void Walker with his Imp Game bot, which is more reasonable. So he's Knife Jacket wouldn't be hurt if he had played the uh, defensive Argus earlier. So he might be thinking, oh, that would be a misplay if I play my defender Argus, so I need to play my Sea Giant.
Hmm.
But yeah, as you say, perhaps play the defender Argus is the right play anyway, even though it's last optimal to play later. He could go for tap and
Yeah, the thing is, the funny thing here is he can go for Blue Sergeant. Oh, but if this hits the Spectral Spider, he can't play a Sea Giant. Okay, never mind. Just kidding. Okay, actually, wait. No, wait. He could. He could anyway. Never mind. I'm just kidding because he gets it on the. Wait, I'm getting confused now. If he gets it on the
no,
field,
yeah, that's sort of misplay, but it's
hold on. He gets it
three
on the
out of
field,
four.
so it turns into a 2, but then the guy dies. Wait a second. How was he able to play that?
He can, but there's a 3 in 4 chance that he would be able
Right.
to
Oh, okay, okay,
play
okay.
this.
So the Spectral Spider actually died to the Sea Giant Knife. Okay, this is starting to make sense. The Spectral Spider actually died to the Sea Giant Knife. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to play the Sea Giant, which is kind of interesting. In any case, Langweixian is in a really horrible spot. What he needs to have happen, I think, in order to even to survive, he needs to hit the Imp King boss and hope the Imp spawns a knife that hits the Void Caller, and then his Mal'Ganis comes out, and then he can Defender as well. I think that's the only way he lives here, because if he puts a Defender up, he's just gonna die.
Uh, I think he's going to die anyway. Consider what Qiutu has in hand, and
I mean, but if he gets a Mal'Ganis and a Defender up, he might be able to live here. But now he's dead. Well, maybe not. Maybe he can get the Mal'Ganis out of this. So maybe actually this is probably a bit better play as far as the odds are concerned. Knife hits the face. Can Qiutu get lethal through Mal'Ganis? Well, now that he has an owl, it should be fine. So you're just gonna go ahead and owl on this Void Caller. Kill the egg, everything's good, and he has plenty of damage to get through here. Gonna be a concede from Langweixian before Qiutu can even figure it out. And that's going to be game 1 going into Qiutu.
yeah, pretty fortunate stuff with Qiutu, but it seems that we are starting to curse Langweixian. Um, I mean, people do bring a lot of aggro deck into the Chinese meta, and we definitely saw that in the BlizzCon. And actually, if the players didn't misplay that much, this thing might work. And Qiutu actually is very business-like. In this tournament, we see him in HTS, but oh, I'm just here to have fun, and which is even more so after Invictus are sure that they're not going to the playoffs. So I mean, that could still be a Holy Rest Paladin there, which I hope to see. But looking good here, really.
Well, I mean, granted, whenever I've seen Qiutu play, it was in the Hearthstone team story, so he was playing for his teammates. But every time I've seen him play, he has taken it seriously. He has done his best. He sometimes hasn't made the best plays, to be fair, but he has really done his best in trying to win these games. So I mean, it would be a disservice, I feel, to the rest of the players in this group, and also just the audience if he didn't put forth his best effort. Looks like he's running a Secret Paladin with Quartermaster, which is pretty interesting to see here.
Yeah, I mean, the reason behind you bring quartermaster in Silver Paladin is that you force your opponent to pay attention to your one-ones.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they just oh, you're Silver Paladin. You don't have don't really have anything to turn your one-ones up, and oh, I am just disregard you guys. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have secrets on board, you have avenge something which kind of good because your opponent is not killing your one-ones. Then you can play the quartermaster very safely, and which feels good at times. So.
Hmm. He's also playing the zombie challenge, so this could be the 4 secret paladin, which only runs 4 secrets. And basically, what you do is, as long as you're able to get your mysterious challenger off, the rest of your deck is just basically like a normal mid-range paladin deck, and then that's really helpful. Just because you have so much density in your deck. The only problem is that once your opponents see it once, you can't. basically it's much less effective afterward, because they know exactly what secrets that you have in your deck. So once they see one secret, they never have to play around it again, and it ends up being really easy, especially with these secrets early on. So that's one of the weaknesses, if indeed that is the deck that we're seeing here. Um, but yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, the quartermaster can be very valuable. And one thing to mention, I mean, obviously it'll maybe catch your opponent off guard if they're not expecting quartermaster. But like you said earlier, once you play it, they might have to start killing off your 1/1s from then on out, so that it gains even further value.
It's definitely a very interesting decision actually for Qiutu not to clear the board with the consecrate, even though he can get a better consecrate this turn, but the coin into Mysterious Channel is pretty tempting as well.
Right, especially because there's a decent chance that the events could go off on this egg. The other thing is that we haven't seen any secrets left, and we've seen a lot of mid-range options. Oh, there's actually 5 secrets. So I'm actually a bit surprised by this. We've seen a lot of mid-range type options in Qiutu's deck, and I was really expecting there to be less secrets in this deck, and him kind of going toward like the less secret model, just kind of get really dense cards in there, and then these secrets. You're just kind of like a one-off thing, but looks like he does have a decent amount in here.
It'll be pretty funny if Secret Trial kill the Sylvanas and still the nice eight.
Yeah, I mean the one I guess Langweixian has to kind of check out what's going on here before he does anything like Sylvanas. He can also use equality here in this situation. So it's definitely a consideration of whether or not he wants to play Sylvanas or not. Obviously, if you knew it was, Sacred Trial, he would maybe go for that, but it doesn't really have any indication of that yet.
I mean, opponent has 5 secrets. That obviously. Oh, that's equality, which is more reasonable play. So.
Right, yeah, it's going to go to Equality Consecration. By the way, we didn't mention it, but it's pretty obvious that Langweixian is playing a more mid-range deck. From the very beginning, he had Sylvanas in hand, so it's pretty obvious in that situation. Anyway, second Mysterious Challenger is coming here, but looks like Qiutu doesn't really want to deal with that. Deal with his opponent's board, so just going to go ahead and Consecrate and Dude, and maybe he can play out Mysterious Challenger the following turn. Or maybe wait a little bit longer anyway. It'll be interesting to see how many secrets he has in his deck. Typically, something like Repentance, and as we see the Repentance go off right now, typically Repentance and Competitive Spirit are one-ups, so he can safely, just play his Mysterious Challenger and get the last 3 secrets out of his deck.
Yes, that's true. Qiutu now is in a bit of dilemma that he could play the second Mysterious Challenger, but feels really bad if you just kill by the Tuck Boom, not to mention that actually Langweixian has a BGH in hand to easily deal with that.
Right, yeah, that would be a bit of a disaster if he went for that play. Unfortunately, he wasn't. His 1/1 from the last turn still was able to be killed by that Lice Justice over on Langweixian. The problem with Quartermaster, right? While you don't really see Quartermaster too much in Secret Paladin, he's had this from the very beginning of the game and hasn't had a single good use for it.
Definitely true. I guess what you can go for is Protector of Alderman and into Cloudhammer.
To give it more health, right? It's kind of awkward in that situation. Looks like he's just going to go for, kind of an Annoyatron Silverhand Recruit in this situation, and you just use his face to kill off that Doctor Room. But, if Qiutu isn't running something like Healbot, which typically you don't see, but again, some of his options in here are kind of bizarre, so you never know. But usually, there's not any... there's no healing or anything of that sort, so taking that damage is really painful.
Yes, definitely that you don't see healing in Secret Paladin's hand. And,
ooh, that is kind of an awkward situation, because if he plays a Tyrion, he just dies. We're going to see another Noble Sacrifice come out of this, I believe. Only 2 secrets come up, so... It's going to be 2 of these 3 secrets: Noble Sacrifice, Redemption, and Avenge, I'm pretty sure. But that means that there's no lethal for Qiutu here unless he wants to risk it by, going with the Blessing of Kings on his Sylvanas. But whatever happens here, it's just pretty unlikely for Qiutu to be able to come back. He's only been able to do 5 damage, surprisingly, to Langweixian. Although a part of that was because he had actually Zombie Chow in the deck, so actually healed his opponent earlier. But regardless, this is just really difficult here for Qiutu to come back from.
Yeah, especially this hearing coming. One
On
interesting thing
on the
is
other
that
hand, though, going with being able to get the Avenge onto his Silverhand Raku was actually very good for him. Otherwise, you would have probably seen a big game hunter out of Langweixian. So there is that going for him. He still has somewhat of a chance, though. Um, it's kind of difficult. What would you go with here? It's really hard to go for Tyrion. Um, you
well,
can't.
I mean, you can use your face
Well, okay. What you can
unless
do
you need
potentially is you can Keeper of
to use keep it
Oldemon,
all the time.
Keeper of Oldemon, the Tyrion. Use your face on the Tyrion, and then find a way to kill the zombie chow. That way, you actually gain 2 health this turn. Um, but then you die to the Sylvanas. It's just to the Sylvanas and the Blessing of Kings. He would be alive on board, but it was just a really kind of
But if
awkward
you want to
situation.
kill Tyrion, you just die to Archfinger anyway. If you even
Oh, right,
can't.
right, 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 right. You're right. So he needs to sort of put a taunt up somehow. So I'm guessing he just goes for the Tyrion and hopes that his 7-1 gets stolen. Yeah. All right. Well, is there guaranteed lethal here? Is the question.
No, you
Oh yeah,
can
there is.
bless
Yeah,
him.
yeah. With the BGs, there's guaranteed lethal. Okay. So here we go. It's gonna
Yeah, I
take the
was thinking
Tyrion.
bless him kings to Tyrion and BGH it.
Oh, there's that too, as well, I suppose. So yeah, multiple ways of doing this, multiple silly ways of being able to get lethal there. It doesn't really matter too much. He was way ahead, was Langweixian, so he's going to be able to take game number 2 and tie up the series 1-1. Now, Qiutu, it looks like he has Paladin and Druid left. Langweixian, on the other hand, do you remember what deck got banned? I actually wasn't able to write that down, but
Langweixian
yeah.
warrior.
Warrior was banned. Was it really?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
he
right, right,
won
right, right.
that
That's right.
war.
That's right. You're right. I remember that. So yeah, he has Warlock and Druid left. Does Langweixian. So Druid and Paladin versus Warlock and Druid. We'll see how that plays out. Looks like we have an interview with Qiutu, and I'll just leave that to you, Shrink. Are you able to get the interview?
Uh, Qiutu said, "Yeah, I started play Hearthstone because I have a friend who left a computer in my home, and I started playing his computer and this game called Hearthstone. And actually, I was World of Warcraft as well, so I really like it. And this time, I want to win the whole thing." And I hope other players could also play well, which will validate my skills in Hearthstone.
All right. So good to know that he's motivated for the situation. But we'll see how this goes from here on out. Again, Druid and Paladin. The interesting Secret Paladin from Qiutu, which is a bit mid-range focused with that Zombie Chow and that Quartermaster. But yeah, going to be the Secret Paladin again, and maybe a bit of. Well, I suppose mid-range, or excuse me, Secret Paladin's pretty good against Zulak as well. So, be interesting to see if Langweixian can take this. However, if he's able to take, Druid Mirror later, then Langweixian can take the Zoo versus Druid. So this might come down to a Druid Mirror. We'll see what happens. Looks like Thorson coming in the hand of Langweixian. That might actually screw him up a bit because he wasn't able, now he can Wrath this Night Juggler, but he might have been able to get a lot of damage in if he just went for the Pile of Cheddar turn 1.
Well, I mean, he could still coin innovate into source next turn that show doesn't have anything. I guess you can go for YOLO Juggler if you play this uh, competitive spirit. We'll see how.
Right, yeah, he's going for the Command Spirit because he's kind of half expecting his Juggler to die anyway, so he'll probably get a decent situation later with potentially the mini bot and the hero power. I wonder what Langweixian is worried about here. If his competitive spirit's not too big of a deal because your opponent just used 2 cards. And maybe he can kill the Thorson here, but you get a discount, and on top of that, the Night Juggler has to die. So yeah, it's just gonna go with the Thorson. It's gonna help him a lot going forward. And there's the competitive spirit. Yeah, anything else would have been fine as well for unless it was repentant, which is unlikely to have happened. So gonna be 2 shots at this Thorson. Qiutu definitely wants to kill it. Unfortunately, doesn't get it. And yeah, Langweixian gets yet another discount here. Probably gonna just kill off this Knife Juggler for 1 mana Wrath there. He gets to actually hit the face with his Thorson, puts out a Shredder, and everything's good. I was thinking maybe he could have gone for the Belcher, but this has worked out pretty fine as well.
Actually, I was thinking if he could have played the Masterful Battle, but he could clear this way as well.
There isn't a muster for battle?
No,
There's a
no
noble
master,
sacrifice. Noble sacrifice. Right. I mean, he kind of needs the tempo out of this, does Qiutu. I mean, it's pretty painful, but I think he does need to go ahead and do this. So, with all those discounts, it's just gonna be a keeper and another shredder hitting the field. It's very painful for Qiutu. And in fact, I feel like Langweixian could just race here in this moment. But yeah, I definitely know what the O is about. It's the second defender, the second noble sacrifice coming in hand, which is not too helpful right here. And yeah, Langweixian realizes that it's neither of he was wondering what secret wasn't there, and it turns out that it is the defender or the noble sacrifice, and just pushing a lot of damage to face, not even worrying about anything here.
Tyrion not playable yet, so I think Qiutu is dead. You can play Noble Sacrifice.
Yeah, you can play Noble Sacrifice, but you're still dead, I think, because
you're still dead.
Yeah, Hero Power just sets that off, and doesn't really matter where the Avenge goes. Yeah, so that's going to be it. So as long as Langweixian sequences this correctly, even if he doesn't sequence this correctly, there's not close to lethal for Qiutu, and yeah, I just don't see this ever happening. Well, there's Force Nature just to cement it into the ground. Okay, so Langweixian takes game number 3, which is very important for his sake. I mean, getting that Druid out of the way is really nice. His Warlock is a bit of an underdog versus the Paladin, but it's very good versus the Druid of Langweixian. Unless it's aggro Druid, that might help a bit if you're Qiutu. But again, Langweixian up 2-1 in this best of 5.
Yes, that's where we are now.
Yep, so we'll see if Qiutu is able to come back here. I mean, to be honest, he hasn't really played too poorly. It's just kind of his choice of deck, right? This for the most part, the Quartermaster that he's had hasn't really been doing anything. I suppose it could, cause Langweixian this next game to play around it. That could be one benefit of having been able to play it this last game for Qiutu, but otherwise, it's just not doing him any favors. He's actually just going to go with the Druid first to see if he can get a kill with that, knowing that if he can't with the Druid, then he's obviously not going to be able to move on. So gonna do some people a favor perhaps, and see if he can't get something going with this Druid, and if he doesn't, then he wasn't going to win anyway, and obviously the overall game score doesn't matter, so going with the unfavored matchup first.
Yeah, but he should be pretty happy to see that obviously certain come down. I mean, it's not happy to see that your opponent has something to play to begin with, but tempo...
Well, it's something.
Yeah, it's something.
And it prevents his wild growth. I mean... Or if he does wild growth, then you get 4 damage either way, right? So ends up working out pretty well here for Qiutu, for Langweixian, I would say, getting that out there, and that's why you play on turn 1. Obviously, you'd rather have something a bit more potent, but this ends up working out just the same. I mean, if you think about it, only really Flame Imp would have been better there. If he had for instance, the Void Walker, then he wouldn't have had as much damage here. So that definitely makes a bit of a difference.
It's definitely true. 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect curve for Langweixian here, and
interesting. He's going to value the 1/3 kind of Void Walker egg over having a 2/1 here. Thorson comes down, which is basically, pseudo taunt. You gotta kill that guy, or else your opponent gets way too many discounts, and that becomes a problem. So how do you kill
Yeah,
this? You might have. Oh well, now that he has two power overwhelming, I was gonna say, do you commit a power? But since he has two, you kind of just do it. So power overwhelming coming out here to kill this Thorson, and Qiutu, he has a bunch of discounted cards, but he's definitely behind in tempo right here on the board. So let's see what he can come up with. Raven Idol for free is nice. Gonna go for a spell. Gets potentially a healing touch. Savagery is absolutely horrible. I imagine you go for the healing touch. It will allow you to maybe draw more cards. Sometimes you might not be able to. Sometimes you're kind of forced to use the healing from the Ancient Allure because you're kind of afraid of drawing cards. But in this case, this kind of allows him to draw cards in this situation because he has the healing touch. Savagery is pretty bad, and you don't want to be wasting any more mana on Raven Idols.
yeah, that's true. I mean, actually, I was kind of seeing him going for that. Actually, this got hit for
Wow.
three. Nice for
Sometimes
him,
lucky, right? Yeah, it hits the three, but it also, gets the, after, given that there was a three roll on that implosion, there was a 50-50 chance of killing the Ancient of Lore, and he ends up getting it, so that's really good for him, obviously. Qiutu, he's really on the back foot and in danger of losing this game. In fact, is there a way to survive this next turn, considering how much damage is in the hand of Langweixian? I'm going to actually go for a Drake. Really wanted to see a swipe there. And let's see, he's going to go up to 17. How much damage is on the board? 3, 6, 10, 12. 16 damage is on the board. But he has 17 if he sacrifices one of his creatures. So basically you run one of your 1 damage attack minions into this Drake, and then you allow room for your Abusive Sergeant. I believe that's exactly 17 damage.
yes, that's true. Actually, it will be kind of
17 and
one
a
more.
half. 17 and a half, yeah. So yeah, it's good. There you go. So we could see a hit to face as well. Yep, does get it. Gets the 50-50 roll. Sometimes lucky here for Langweixian, and he is going to be the first player to